You're watching NappyCast by Jason Nappy Weather. I'm tracking the threat for severe weather, tornadoes, hail, wind, again, high plains, and also the big heat dome, the big heat wave that is coming Sunday, Monday, Tuesday for the eastern two-thirds of the country. We'll talk about that in the forecast right now. Surface analysis, you've got a warm front that's going to be moving north here. Area of low pressure riding along that boundary, and there's going to be a lot of spin, big time hail and wind, high plains. Here's the front coming through the northeast right now. We'll talk about that moving through, very windy, and then all of the heat coming up from the south, big heat dome, big heat wave. Now, technically, it's not going to be a heat wave for everyone because technically you need 3 days of 90 or above for a heat wave, but I don't care about that. Quite frankly, when the humidity is high as it's going to be, and the heat's going to be as high as it's going to be, we're not going to hit 90 for 3 days in a row in many locations, but I can tell you it's going to be incredibly and extremely hot and dangerous for the heat getting into especially Tuesday. That's when it's going to peak, okay? So here is the severe threat in the high plains from that system moving through. Here's the cold fronts moving through the northeast, right? And then here will be the ridge, the big old ridge that's going to pump in all of that heat and humidity in the next few days, starting Saturday, Sunday, and especially Monday and Tuesday. First, the tornado threat, the severe threat, the wind, hail threat, high plains right now. So Montana, back towards North Dakota, Minnesota, you've got a level 2 to 3 threat, a lot of buoyancy in the atmosphere, a lot of lift, and you're going to have a system moving through mid-levels of the atmosphere that's going to provide a bunch of spin. So let's look at tornado threat right now. It is up to a 5 to 10%. You got that hatched area in North Dakota, Minnesota. Big time tornadoes moving through. And also here is the wind threat, 30%, which is a wide area. And hail too, big time hail. So watch out for that if you are on the high plains. Let's take a look at that now, a little bit more detail. And this is the energy that's coming through just briefly here before I get over to Maine. I'm going to show you this energy that's coming through the atmosphere in the high plains. That will be the focus mechanism and part of that lift of the wind that's going to push through. We got a big trough coming into the west coast, the big engine for this. And then here is your ridge. Okay, you're talking about heat back east. Here is your ridge that's going to develop, okay, and pump in heat and extreme levels of humidity. Widespread dew points in the 70s are coming. So here's the trough that comes through right now. That's the cold front, the trough that comes through the northeast. And then there is your monster ridge, okay? Huge ridge. The more of this trough digs, the more of this ridge needs to amplify. So that means we are going to see temperatures that are going to be record-setting across the east. Here's a look at the record-setting temperatures. Pick things up on Sunday. Anywhere you see a circle temperature, that is a record high, okay? Basically a forecast for record high. So all over the place. Plains, Great Lakes, towards the mid-Atlantic. And then when we crank it up, this is going to be Monday. Look at all of the record heat. Ohio Valley and the Northeast, the Mid-Atlantic. You see triple digits there. And then this is Tuesday when things really lock in. A record high in Bangor of 93 is forecasted in Maine all the way down to the Carolinas, record highs, okay, back towards Ohio. So it's not going to break the heat for the north until around Wednesday, okay? And you're going to be begging for that at that point unless you really love the tropics here. So it is going to be incredibly hot. It's also going to rain this weekend. I kind of have to joke at this point because I think we're on 15 in a row. But here is your system that's coming through. This is going to be early Sunday to midday Sunday in the Northeast. So it's about the 15th time in a row where there will be rain on a weekend in the Northeast in New England. We have no control over it. We have to do what we can do. It's not going to be an all-weekend thing. It's moving very quickly. It's not going to be incredibly heavy. At least some heavier showers up in the county. But I can tell you that it is going to rain. But I wouldn't cancel plans over it. I would just be aware that it's not going to be a completely dry weekend. We haven't really had one of those since the middle of March. So here's a look at the forecast in Maine in more detail. Windy with showers north and west today. Isolated power outages from the wind. And watch on the lake, okay? Anytime you're going to get the lake start to build. The waves built to around 5 feet on Sebago Lake. Watch out today with that wind. And then dangerous heat next week. Starting Sunday, but especially Monday and Tuesday is when that heat is really going to crank up and build a good old-fashioned 2 or 3 days. Now, technically, it's not a heat wave. You don't see any 90s in the mountains, but the humidity will be high starting Sunday into Monday, Tuesday, and even I could see Wednesday. We'll see how much we cool down with the humidity on Wednesday. And then the forecast here, inland 78, showers and wind 83, 81, Tuesday, Monday 88, and then I just have 96 up there Tuesday. Now, Wednesday down to 88, but it's going to depend Wednesday where you are. The farther north you are, it'll be cooler. The farther south, it will be warmer and still humid. It really depends what happens with the cold front for Tuesday to Wednesday, right? How far does that cold front get south? So I don't want to promise Wednesday is going to be a low humidity, very comfortable day just yet. We have to wait and see what happens with that front. So I'm going to keep it out one more day, but even the coastline is going to get to the 90s, okay? 93, which is tough to do in late June at the coast because the ocean is so warm. So we'll see what happens if we get much of a sea breeze. But before that, incredible heat. It's also going to be very uncomfortable at night too. And I'll talk about that on jasonnappyweather.com. Overnight sleeping is going to be downright miserable, okay? Not good sleeping weather. Even if you like heat, sleeping weather with dew points in the 70s and temperatures in the 70s, not something you're typically used to in Maine, but we'll get through it, and I'll talk about it more on jasonnappyweather.com.